What? Yeah? What? Just tell me, what were you saying? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. You're going up? Is that what you said? Yeah? Up and up? Who's coming? I love you, honey.
This video is about a great sign.
Or when the Jews get the ability to get their temple back, they said the Jews are going to be saying peace and safety. It'll be world headlines, peace and safety. Finally, like John Kerry could never make it happen.
This footage behind me here, that's along the coast of the Dead Sea. Now, when you have a sign, by its very definition, a sign means not a rapture, but a sign means something is coming on the road ahead. That's correct, right? This eclipse that's happening, how many days is it, and what is the significance of that amount of days before September 23rd? I've been recording conversations with Scott for probably roughly about 3 years.
There's a few different things. This eclipse happens 33 days before what looks to be the sign that John wrote about in Revelation 12:1 and 2.
The rabbi of 1217, the 800-year prophecy, and he gave 3 prophecies. The first 2 he got right on the money, on the day. And he's working jubilees.
And in between the similar eclipse coming in August and the Revelation 12 sign is the word promise. Or it's the number of promise, 33.
In terms of the rapture, I'd like to, for a minute here, I'd like to hit pause and back us really far out of that. When we're talking about a sign, we have to first consider what it is the sign is leading to and for.
Hold on a second. Say that again, Scotty, and put that up on the. What does the number 3 mean?
According to evangelist N.F. Vallow, the biblical number 3 is resurrection, divine completion, and perfection.
Donnie, one of Kim Clement's daughters, called me like she shared a video with me, a private video that was on VHS from her father in 2010. ninth plague of Egypt was 3 days of darkness. Got it.
And clearly you can see this in the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit.
Okay, so we've got an eclipse that comes through like this.
Whatever the case, she shared a video with me, and her father was talking about a great sign, and then revivals would come to this land, America.
Coming to life! Lift your hands, lift your hands! Lift your hands up, lift your hands! For the Spirit of God said, look at the sign that is coming in the sky. Keep it going, keep it going. I need it, I need it. For God said, would you call? For God to show you. For he is not told, says the Spirit of God, that this woman that gave birth to this child is likened unto a generation, the bride of Christ.
There's a few different things. This eclipse happens 33 days before what looks to be the sign that John wrote about in Revelation 12:1 and 2, which describes a woman clothed in the sun with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head, and she's in labor and in pain to give birth.
That this woman that gave birth to this child is likened unto a generation, the bride of Christ, that gives birth to this great move, this end time move. Men have cried out for it. In the early 17th century, they saw your day. In the early 1800s, they saw your day and prayed for it. Abraham saw your day and prayed for this day. Daniel saw this day and he prayed for
This tape of Kim Clement is courtesy Donnie and Jane, Kim's wife, Jane Clement. Kim suffered 3 strokes. Back there is the solar eclipse that happened 33 days before September 23rd. Kim had 3 strokes, and he lived just long enough to see one of his largest prophecies, Donald Trump, become president. But 3 days, 3 little days before his last one, they found Kim. He was crying, and he didn't want to tell them what he had seen. The Lord had shown him that he would not speak anymore. They found him crying 3 days before his last and 3rd stroke.
The Spirit of God said David saw this day and sang for it. Everyone saw this day, even as early as the early century. They saw this day and said, what day is this, that the earth would yield its produce to the sons of men? What is this day?
That's a sign in the sun right there. In fact, that sign happened precisely 40 days from the Day of Atonement. These numbers just magical. Signs in the sun are for the sun worshiping, the Western, the Gentile nations. Signs in the moon are for Islam, Israel, the Middle East. All moon calendars. The Gentiles have sun calendars. Let me tell you, whether it's for Nineveh or whether it's from
So the Spirit of God says, it is so, and it is this day that I speak of. For many don't understand that there's been a war in the heavens for the United States of America. There's been a war in the heavens for these United States. Do you understand that this is not a battle against the economy? This is not a battle against a Democrat or Republican. This is not a battle against a ruler. This is a battle that has been taking place in the heavens, that God said, I have expelled those that have tried to interpret incorrectly, and I've taken them out of the heavens and expelled them to the earth. For the Spirit of God says, this generation, you that have birthed this child and about to give birth to this move of the Spirit, Satan shall chase after you.
Oh, let me tell you, whether it's for Nineveh had a solar eclipse. Everyone in the ancient world knew to look at signs and the sun. They had a solar eclipse right before a guy got spit out of a fish. They worshiped the fish god, Dagon. Well, they saw the sign. Let me tell you what the signs mean. What they meant for Nineveh was, you have 40 days to repent. Come out of her, my people. Repent. That's what the signs, if you catch nothing else, that's what the signs mean.
I will give you two wings, the wings of eagles, says the Spirit of God, and you shall be carried to a place of safety while the enemy tries to find you, and you will not be able to find this generation, and they will not be able to destroy the child. For listen, when the child is born, he will immediately try to kill this move. When this movement is born, he will immediately try to kill it, just like they tried to kill Christ when he was born, just like they tried to kill Moses when a deliverer was about to come forth. This movement.
Herod had tried to kill baby Jesus because he knew from the wise men that had come from Babylon. The religious Israel didn't even know their Messiah was born. It was Gentiles, it was wise men. That's the department that Daniel ran in Babylon. It was wise men that came following a star, a sign in the sky, to the place where the Messiah would be born. And Herod tried to kill the child. If you're looking in the book of Yasher, or the book of the upright, there was a sign in the skies that told all of Nimrod's witchy people, his witch doctors, his sign readers, the righteous and the wicked can both read the signs. Nimrod believed that his empire was going to end at that moment, because that's what the sign in the sky above the child being born meant. He thought it meant immediately, like that. Little did he know that it would be thousands of years. On the day there was a sign over Bethlehem, and the Messiah, the King, was born. For most all of the world, nothing changed that very next day. Here behind me is the Revelation 12 sign. I want to pause on that. In Matthew 24, where the disciples come to Jesus, they say, Rabbi, Master, Teacher, Yahshua, Jesus Christ, what will be the sign of your coming? Next words. And the end of the age. That's an important little terminology right there. And then on down in the text, Rabbi Judah ben Samuel, who made 3 prophecies, beginning in 12:17, 800 years, perfectly 800 years, ending in the year of 2017 on Tishri, one of the 7th month, the first day, or 8, in the year of 2017. With your permission, I would like to read to you Ben Samuel's prophecy. And right on down in that same passage of Matthew 24, let me tell you the parable of the fig tree. Jesus begins, that you know when the fig tree blossoms, that the time is near, even at the door. Now, in 6,000 years, even at the door, could be 200 years. I'm not saying it is that. The fig tree, the blossoming, the seedling of the fig tree began, and this chart up here is credited to my friend Scotty Clark. 1897. Then 1917, the Balfour Declaration. Then 1947, the UN declares Israel a nation. 1967, they get Jerusalem back. 2017, where you have a big question mark, is where when the Ottoman Turks conquer Jerusalem, they will rule over Jerusalem for 8 jubilees. Afterwards, Jerusalem will become a no man's land, which is actually how it was precisely, technically defined, to the day, for 1 jubilee. Then in the 9th jubilee, it will come again back into the possession of the Jewish nation. That happened to the day during the 6-day war. And then right here, which will signify, now we're at the 10th Jubilee, which would signify the beginning of the Messianic end times. So to understand that, you have to think like a Jewish rabbi, because that term, end of the age or Messianic end times, can mean something, and probably does, mean something vastly different than stating the time of tribulation or the time of Jacob's trouble. Messianic end times, and I would note that the rabbi said the beginning. So that start would have been in 1967. What do you mean by beginning? Was this would encompass a time frame where geopolitically, like what you're watching, geopolitically, ducks would begin coming into a row in the world towards those end times, which you read in all the prophetic texts, towards those end time events. And somewhere in the mix and shake of all that, maybe not on that precise date even, but somewhere in the shake of that, probably including getting a temple back. But I would highlight greatly that he stated beginning of the Messianic end times right there. And I have no idea what that means. But I know this, that it doesn't say rapture right there. Nonetheless, I do believe that the Lord gave Scott Clark, that he's the one that was looking, that's what a watchman does. Look up at the skies and look at the signs. I do believe that the Lord wanted that highlighted for the world and laid that in Scott's hand. In fact, there's nobody on the planet Earth often that Scott can look at a piece of text and he can see things in it that no one else will see. It's an honor to be able to call my friend Scott Clark. But in terms of the sign, Kim Clement had an interpretation for this woman about to give birth in the skies.
And amongst you, says the Lord, but I will bless your hands, and I will bless your womb, I will bless your businesses, I will bless your churches, says the Spirit of God. Are you listening to him tonight? Keep praying, keep praying, keep praying, church. This is a word for the United States of America. I've been caught up into a spirit world. I cannot move from there now. For God says there is a sign. There is a sign that is coming from the heavens, and you will see it. It is as a woman that holds a child, the child that has been born. And God said, the enemy shall say, I must spew out of my mouth the waters so that there will be a flood.
When I was putting together the Trump prophecy video, that's Jericho. That's a Judean desert in Jericho Road down in there, where the Good Samaritan story took place. When I was putting the Trump prophecy video together, I kept seeing an image in my mind continuously that the Lord wanted to prosper the United States, the Western world, like the United States, the West, was a set of bleachers looking down on the Middle East, more specifically Israel, the Holy Land, looking down at it and not only seeing the end time events. That's what all those numbers are. 1947, 1967, all little threes. Oh, boy, there were threes all over the place when we were in Israel. In fact, this movie right here, Holy Land, will take you, that's a supernatural film right there. You're gonna see threes all over the place, like a set of bleachers. That's where the Lord wanted to prosper the United States, so they could not only look at the end time events, but understand them.
The earth shall swallow up the water, and there shall be no flood of evil nor iniquity. There shall be no flood of evil nor iniquity, says the Spirit of God. They shall not take this that is about to be born and cause that to happen that happened in the previous generation and the previous mood. And there shall be no people that shall say it is okay to do these things. For God said this that is about to be born is one of the holiest moves of my Spirit, and it shall be done with the most unholy people that lie alive today, says the Lord. your hands. America! Hear the word!
Yeah, man, it's weird, bro. Yeah, we about to die, bro. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro.
I'm sitting there filming this. Look how huge this damn moon is. I have never seen a moon this large in life. And then why is this moon so close to Earth? Something's wrong, people. Something is dead wrong. And the whole time I'm trying to make sure this is the moon.
This is September 6th, 2017, on my way home. That is a crazy, crazy looking moon. It's definitely like blood red.
Look, the moon is red. The moon is pure red, bro. I'm not even kidding. People don't even believe me. Look, the moon is freaking red. It's red, bro. It's freaking red. Look at that. That's the moon right there. It's the moon. The moon's red. Look, there's some star. There's no stars or anything. Could this mean the end of the world?
September 3rd, 2017. It's about 8 o'clock p.m. I know I said I wasn't going to put any more of these up, but just to let everybody know, it's still up there. I just wish this video camera could zoom in a little better.
Good evening, guys. It is September 5th. Today in Texas we had a red blood moon, and I wanted to share that with you. I know a bunch of people were seeing it yesterday, September 4th. In Texas, we didn't see it yesterday. It was really white when we went out at like 8:30. We went for a walk tonight and we saw it, and it was red coming up over the horizon. If you go out now, it's more of like a yellowy orangey color, but when it was rising, it was definitely blood red. And I'm going to play the video for you. So like I said, a bunch of people saw it red yesterday. We didn't here. It's the 5th today, and it's a full moon tomorrow, the 6th. It looks full by the naked eye when you're out there, but the actual full moon is tomorrow, September 6th. So if you guys remember my dream that I had, I had a dream that the night before tribulation there would be a red blood moon. There was one yesterday, there's one tonight, so I'm not sure if that means tribulation is coming up soon, like tomorrow, or if we're going to have another red moon tomorrow. I don't know what God's doing, but He's definitely trying to give us warning signs, you guys. Acts chapter 2 verse 20 says the sun will be turned to darkness, which was August 21st, the eclipse, and the moon to blood, which is yesterday, today, before the day of the Lord come. So we know the tribulation is near, and I don't know if it's tomorrow. I don't believe it is, just because there's a lot of dreams that we've had and messages I've had that have just not been fulfilled yet. So personally, I don't feel like this is it, but I could definitely be wrong. I'm not God, and my interpretation could be wrong, you know. So at this point, I hope this is it. I am so exhausted, but if not, And just keep waiting. The signs are there. Let me know if you guys have seen this red blood moon where you're at.
Bro, I'm not lying to you this time. There's a blood moon or something like that. I think you call it blood moon. The moon is red. I'm not even kidding. I have some pictures. Hopefully the moon didn't freaking disappear on me. Look, the moon is red. The moon is pure red, bro. I'm not even kidding. People don't even believe me. Look, the moon is freaking red. It's red, bro. It's freaking red. Look at that. That's the moon right there. It's the moon. The moon's red. Look, there's some star. There's no stars or anything. Could this mean the end of the world? No. Well, I was playing with my friend, basketball, Andre. He left, and then Andre brought like a friend over to Brady. We were both playing. We both realized that the freaking blood moon is here.
Just a little live footage of the moon, folks, from the 46th north latitude, 119th west longitude at 9:35 p.m. local time. Just capturing the outer perimeter where we have a lot of smoke in the air, hence our red moon, I believe. But we're not getting a super crisp focus either due to all this atmospheric contamination, or atmosplanic, excuse me. While the indoctrination takes over my mind. But I just thought I'd do a little more comparison moon shooting with the P900.
That's what the moon looks like through the smoke from the fire. Columbia Gorge fire. Wow, that is creepy.
Like, look at the telephone pole. You know how big a telephone pole is, and look at this huge, gigantic, rare pink supermoon popping up. I was really under the impression that this was Nibiru or some kind of big red planet that was popping up in our sky. I didn't know what the hell this was. I have never seen the moon this big in life. Even when they said we had supermoons and it wasn't this big. How in the hell do we have a supermoon going on? And what is a supermoon? A supermoon is a full moon or a new moon that is approximately coincides with the closest distance that the moon reaches to the earth on its elliptic orbit. But okay, so why is this moon so close to the earth? So it results in a larger than usual appearance or size or lunar disk as seen from Earth. Where else are we gonna see it from? Yeah. So I'm sitting there filming this. Look how huge this damn moon is. I have never seen a moon this large in life. And then why is this moon so close to Earth? Something's wrong, people. Something is dead wrong. And the whole time I'm trying to make sure this is the moon. Because like you looking at it, can you tell that that's the moon? I couldn't. You know, it has some strange gray cloud that I can't even tell. If you're looking at the sky, you don't see any clouds, but somehow this gray cloud thing is there. That's almost impossible too, because you can't see it with your eye. Like, what the hell is that? This is just a what the hell.
This is September 6th, 2017, on my way home. And that is a crazy, crazy looking moon. It's definitely like blood red.
situation because
Yeah.
not only do we have Irma, but now, Harvey, we've got Jose
Yeah,
literally
we actually
right
have
behind her.
Jose, which is now a Category 3,
Right.
another major hurricane. It's happened before, but it's unusual to have two major hurricanes at once.
I got to ask this. What on earth is going on here? Oscar-winning actress Jennifer Lawrence suggests hurricanes Harvey and Irma may be nature's wrath over President Trump's victory.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's incredible.
You
It's
know the
amazing.
video I'm
The
talking
sea
about.
is
They
gone.
said they had it. The
Yeah.
sea is gone. Here you go. That was the ocean. This looks like what you see in tsunamis. When a tsunami happens and all the water pulls away from the coast before it comes back in.
I don't know if this is exactly hurricane force winds. We don't have a wind meter, but I'm sure you can tell right now the wind is really strong out here right now. Actually, difficult to even keep our balance again. So,
These guys are walking on the ocean floor because the wind is so strong that it pulled all the water out of the ocean, out of that.
What is the wind
sea
speed,
right
you think, for it to be able to do that?
Well, it went through the Bahamas at 160 miles an hour. So that's enough energy that it pulled the ocean out from the land.
Right, as you've been mentioning, there is significant flooding here in Fort Pierce and in St. Lucie County. Right now, we're here at Oleander Avenue and Virginia Avenue. If you look over here, we've got cars just stuck in this water.
A biblical flood in Texas, and now a catastrophic and terrifying hurricane about to hit Florida. This is unprecedented. This is not some distant event. This is the whole state of Florida, and then perhaps Georgia and South Carolina. Millions of people are on the move, ordered out. It is indeed an exodus.
The National Weather Service reported at least one tornado touchdown. That threat exists right now up and down the East Coast.
But the winds are already sucking the water out of Tampa Bay. This is surreal to see. The water should be going that way, right? But instead, look, the current is going that way, pulling it out into the bay and into the Gulf. This sets up potential catastrophic flooding for later on tonight when Irma hits. A huge surge because the water is being sucked out and then it will come crashing back.
Let me just begin with this. Jose is in the Atlantic. When do we expect it? What's its direction, and when do we expect to see it?
So it's in a bit of a holding pattern right now. It's waiting for Irma to kind of unwind. It's dominating the flow over the eastern U.S. It's going to drift between the Bahamas and out toward Bermuda, but in between the two, next 5 to 6 days. It's going to try to move back in as we look toward next weekend and early next week. So we have a ways to watch it, and it's still going to be unclear exactly how those steering currents are going to line up for a couple days yet. We need Irma to calm down, then we get a clear picture. It's going to come close to the coast, and I think North Carolina to New England would be the spot to watch.
After leveling parts of the Caribbean, Irma has made landfall in the United States. It's destroyed much of the Florida Keys, which are still inaccessible by bridges.
Irma's strong winds are still pounding Florida. Even though the storm is slowly weakening, the National Hurricane Center warns it is still life-threatening with dangerous storm surge, powerful wind gusts, and torrential rain.
The most urgent question, Chad, is where is it? Where is it going? What do people need to know?
It is right there, southwest of Jacksonville. Where is it going? To the northwest. Where is it affecting the most right now? Anywhere from Charleston down through Jacksonville, with flash flood emergencies going on for record flooding. More flooding going on now than during Hurricane Matthew in Savannah or in Tybee. More flooding than 1964 all the way back to the 1860s, before there were even gauges on the St. Johns River in Jacksonville. All because the wind is blowing the water here. It's the same surge you always get with a hurricane, but it's the surge on the north side. We talk about the dirty side, the worst side of the storm. This is now the worst side of the storm. Now, there is some surge going back into Tampa, but 2 to 3 feet. Not what could have been had the storm been slightly farther offshore. The storm is a tropical storm. It is 70 miles per hour. It is dying. It is disintegrating. There's enough of a high pressure up here that the winds will gust to near hurricane strength all the way through Georgia, South Carolina, and even southern North Carolina later on today. At least 70 mile per hour gusts all through this region. That will bring power lines down, trees down, and put more people without power. Like 5 million in Florida is not enough, John, because it still keeps going. It's dying, but it still keeps going for this region right through here. Jacksonville, St. Augustine, all the way almost to Charleston.
it's stuff like this. We were actually here live on Friday. You might remember I actually tweeted out a photo for Fox News that showed a houseboat standing right here that said, "Hold on, Irma, hold my beer, I'll be right back." That boat is now basically just a piece of wood on the ground, or on the water. Everything is underwater. This place just got absolutely hammered, as you can tell. Boats stuck in upside down in some ways into each other. These houseboats are just thrashed. There's really nothing left here whatsoever. If you go over a little bit to the right here, in fact, Lloyd, keep going. The water surge in this area, John, was 6 feet. Look at this one right here. This house was out in the water. It was a newer build houseboat, but still thrown up onto the shore. And you see these type of views on the ocean side all the way down. The latest information we've been told is this: every single bridge in the Keys is currently shut down.
Something is coming our way. 99% of the world's population will not be prepared.
Is the fear of the apocalypse alive today? Yes, I think people are genuinely concerned about it.
Famine, plague, death, war. Your world can change very quickly.
I think there's a lot of questions about what exactly is going on. Is there an end to mankind? Has that ever been predicted?
The regathering of Israel, becoming a nation again, this is the sign of the end times.
There's fuses all over the place. We're just waiting for one of them to get lit. It's that volatile.
Rumors of wars and wars, nation against nation, people against people, that is just the beginning.
It's a great cosmological drama that is playing out.
These constellations are lining up. This is what Revelation 12 is talking about.
Every single thing that's going to happen on September 23rd, factually, is mentioned in a book that's 2,000 years old.
Is Revelation 12 describing Planet X? In a way, yes. It describes it as a fiery dragon of old.
This is not Hollywood anymore. This is reality. This is where astronomy and the Bible meet.
Is Planet X coming in? The answer to that is yes.
There are some amazing things going on in the sky, and it shows a time coming of just utter destruction of the earth.
Can the events of the book of Revelation actually come true?
What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my family? What's going to happen to my world?
These are the birth pangs that's setting this whole thing up at this time. These are the signs.
This is not something where I'm giving you a doomsday scenario, but it is something that tells me that we need to pay attention. This is a warning.
This was the moment the earthquake hit, around midnight on Thursday night. This house, more than 100 kilometers away from the epicenter.
Video shows how the earthquake caused violent shaking inside an office building. Mexico's president says the earthquake is the strongest to hit his country in a century.
This video appears to show the moment the massive 8.1 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of southern Mexico. People inside covering their heads as the shaking continues. Rubble from collapsed buildings in Chiapas littered the streets as rescue workers shoveled through the debris for survivors. Hundreds of miles north in Mexico City, the earthquake shook office buildings, restaurants, and even the famed Angel of Independence monument. Frightened people ran from their homes, worried they could collapse.
Help has arrived for some survivors of the worst quake to hit Mexico in over a century. Private citizens brought food from a neighboring state, enough to feed hundreds. Many are resting here at the Technological Institute of the Isthmus. It's become a temporary shelter for families left homeless following Thursday's massive earthquake.
Now, Pope Francis reportedly suffered a minor accident upon his arrival to Cartagena in Colombia, which is the last stop of his visit in the country, when his head reportedly hit the Pope mobile. Now, the accident happened as Pope Francis was riding along the streets of Cartagena on his way to a shelter for the homeless, and as he tried to reach out to one of those who was waiting for him along the streets, the car moved abruptly, causing the Pope to stumble.
An A-class guest list for a unique concert. Kim Jong-un, his wife, and high-ranking officials from the Workers' Party, all present to honor the scientists behind North Korea's 6th nuclear test. The explosion resulted in a 6.3 magnitude earthquake and multiple landslides. Pyongyang claims that it has successfully tested an H-bomb that can be fitted onto a rocket. As the country's state media broadcasts this event, the international community's worries seems to be falling on deaf ears. NATO Secretary General says North Korea's tests are a threat to international peace and stability.
Reckless behavior of North Korea is a global threat and requires a global response, and that of course also includes NATO.
Although the United Nations has already slapped 7 rounds of sanctions on the hermit state, enforcement has been lax. UN experts estimate that the country managed to sell 225 million euros of exports in recent months.
You've got South Koreans caught in the middle on one side, listening to President Trump. On the other side, watching Kim Jong-un and watching a possible missile launch maybe as early tomorrow of an ICBM. Again, that could come at Saturday, Korean time, and it could be a flatter trajectory launch that would put it deeper into the Pacific, more threatening to the United States. But it could come earlier, or it could come later, or maybe next month. That's the hitch with Kim Jong-un. You're never too sure what he's going to do because he likes to keep his neighbors, the world, guessing and on high alert. Here in South Korea, the military at least seems to be on wartime footing. The South Korean forces wrapping up exercises that we've been tracking all this week following last weekend's nuclear test by North Korea. There are more, we are told, next week involving the U.S. Marines. Finally, a protest in Seoul here, blasting Kim Jong-un, appearing to praise President Trump. The president's strong rhetoric unsettles some here, but others like it precisely because it unsettles the North. Take a listen.
The sound of this sort of vulgar, sticking it to the North Koreans, they kind of like that because they know that the North Koreans pay attention to this. They're trying to figure this out, and that's good.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
The hitch, according to analyst Breen, however, is if President Trump a year from now or 2 years from now is still threatening military action. The words might lose a little bit of their punch, according to Breen.
Health officials in Nigeria say at least 35 people have now died in a cholera outbreak in the northeast of the country. The death toll is up from the 21 reported earlier this week, and the number of suspected cholera cases is approaching 1,300.
Nearly half of the U.S. population may be affected by a breach at Equifax, one of the largest credit reporting companies.
Bill, this data breach is one of the worst case scenarios because the data includes social security numbers, credit histories, even driver's licenses, basically a roadmap for identity thieves. And the depth and breadth of the breach, as you mentioned, nearly 1 in 2 Americans is affected.
Arrival, the territory's governor ordered the National Guard to prepare for the coming catastrophe by suppressing certain constitutional rights. In an executive order issued on Tuesday, Governor Kenneth Mapp empowered the Guard to seize guns and ammunition from citizens, all to maintain public order after the storm.
And as we were heading to that location, that's where we caught these looters in progress, just filtering in and out of that broken window. And then shortly thereafter, it was the Foot Locker directly across the street on Sunrise and Powerline, where we saw more people stealing shoeboxes and among other items.
Irma bringing out the worst in some people, unfortunately. Here we see some, now they're criminals down in Miami looting. They're stealing boxes of shoes from this Foot Locker store. So, we see Steve Shapiro showing you how bad it is outside, and these people want to use this as an opportunity to commit crimes. They're going in the back door of a Foot Locker, walking out with bags and bags of shoes and loading them into their vehicle. Very unfortunate to see this.
Yeah, well, karma is a really bad thing, so hopefully nothing drops out of the sky on top of them while they're trying to get away.
The situation got violent in St. Martin, where armed looters stormed a resort.
We heard that, that people were coming into different resorts posing as, guests and stealing people's jewelry and belongings. It wasn't even just taking, water and food. It was just really scary.
I'm fascinated by the excuses for it that you're hearing from the left and many in the news media who won't cover this and who basically attack anyone who notes that it's wrong to steal during a time of crisis. Why do you think the left makes excuses for this so aggressively?
Apparently, unbeknownst to me, my family, and anyone who knows me, discussing looting now makes you a racist, which not unusual at all from the left, by the way. Pretty much everything makes you a racist, which has rendered the term nearly meaningless in polite political discourse anymore. They have this idea, and Thomas Sowell's done great work on this, in the Vision of the Anointed in some of his books, that it's really not the criminal's fault, Tucker, it's society's fault. And if we just organized ourselves a little better, we were a little more socialist and communist, and we were better planners, we wouldn't have this problem. So it's really not the looters' fault, it's the evil business owners' fault for not giving away the sneakers before the storm hit. So it's twofold.
They hate the society, they hate the civilization, and so they're constantly rooting for the people who seek to destroy it. I mean, I don't know how you can't, I don't want to reach that conclusion, but how could you root for, by the way, these are not, I think all of us are sympathetic to the mom without diapers who goes and helps herself to some. I mean, in a moment of crisis, I get it. But these are people driving new cars with gold chains, stealing shoes. There's literally no excuse for that. And yet, we're not supposed to say anything because it's bad to note it. I mean, if you take that position, you're rooting against our society.
Yeah, and not only that, the convenient out they use by painting everybody with the most disgusting, by the way, outside of child molester and murderer. Is there anything worse to call someone than a racist? By using that, it's their effort to distract away and to constantly, as I always say, the liberals don't run on anything. All they have is making you believe that conservatives hate whatever identity group it is. So by painting everybody as blanket racist, this is what they think is going to work for them. They don't have anything else.
This morning, this young aspiring pastor charged with murdering his Sunday school teacher wife.
I think I killed my... What do you mean by that? What happened?
28-year-old Matthew Phelps arrested after a detailed and disturbing call to 911 early Friday morning.
I had a dream, and then I turn on the lights and she's dead on the floor. How?
Between labored breaths and alarming admission.
I have blood all over me, and there's a bloody knife on the bed, and I think I did it. I can't believe this.
A disoriented sounding caller telling the dispatcher he took cough medicine to sleep the night before.
What medicine did you take? I took horse eating. I know it can make you feel good, so a lot of times I can't sleep at night. She's not moving. Oh my God. He didn't deserve this.
Just after 1:15 a.m., officers arriving at the couple's Raleigh townhome, discovering 29-year-old Lauren Phelps with multiple stab wounds.
Overseas, Australians begin a nationwide vote on same-sex marriage today. The postal vote involves sending ballots to households throughout the country. The process is expected to take 2 months. The question on the ballot, should the law be changed to allow same-sex couples to marry? The postal vote is voluntary and not binding on politicians, but it could lead to greater support in Parliament for legalizing same-sex marriage. Same-sex marriage advocates opposed the postal vote, saying it's unnecessary. Traditional marriage supporters say it's important to spark a national debate over the effect that legalizing same-sex marriage will have on freedom of speech and religion. The votes should be tallied by November 15th.
Normally, handcuffs mean the story's over. But shoplifting suspect Tasha Sponsler is just getting started, quietly slipping free, diving to the front seat of this police unit. God dang! And speeding away. The 23-minute chase Saturday through Lufkin, Texas, pushing 100 miles per hour. Officers coming head-on swerve out of the way. Sponsler swerves too, avoiding these spike strips. But finally knocked off the road. Guns drawn. Police smashed the window to get her out.
The opening between the front and the back seats in these patrol units is only about 12 inches, but even so, the Lufkin police are making a change.
releasing this video installing new barriers and showing a sense of humor. #FoolMeOnce.
What was once confined to science fiction movies
This may be a little uncomfortable. Just implanted a radium diode. They're the access codes to your drop spot.
is now reality for some.
I can pay, open doors, and have my business card in there as well.
These Aussies say they're being microchipped to simplify their lives.
Which will connect to my work pass, which will allow me access to my office, to use the printer, to use the scanner.
We won't need any ID cards, we won't need any PIN codes, access cards or anything, so we can live a much sort of freer life.
The microchip is the size of a grain of rice and the procedure takes just 15 minutes. First, the area is sterilised, then the location marked. The chip is then placed inside a hollow needle and inserted underneath the skin. Data from your bank card, payment method, building swipe, LinkedIn profile or medical history is cloned onto the chip, which is implanted in the hand. Using the same technology as tap and pay cards, the chip can then be used to open security doors, pay for a coffee, use public transport and access information you've programmed onto the chip. This Perth body modification artists already embrace the trend.
I have a business card on one I have just for funny images to load up on people's phones randomly, and one of them I use for being able to operate and open a door lock. We'll turn off the immobiliser.
32-year-old Joeltron has even built a motorbike which can be immobilised just by the touch of his hand.
Easy as that.
The microchip also has the potential to save lives. Personal medical data can be loaded onto the device like blood type and allergies and accessed in emergencies.
For those concerned about privacy, the user can control what data is made available. Visa says it's possible for any device to become enabled for payments, but the chip would need to meet Visa's security standards and be issued by a bank. But our laws haven't kept up with the new technology. A man in Sydney recently copped a fine after implanting his transport chip in his hand. While microchipping may be a step too far for some big businesses are already trialling wearable payment technology. Bankwest among those putting the information in wristbands, watches and key rings, with 400 volunteers testing the gadgets right now.
So it has a chip in it, just like your bank card does, and you can go to a merchant terminal, buy your coffee, buy your drink and swipe the device.
Microchipping costs around $300.
The Trump administration is supporting a Colorado baker who declined to make a cake for a same-sex wedding. The Department of Justice has filed a brief on behalf of Jack Phillips in his upcoming Supreme Court case, Masterpiece Cake Shop versus the Colorado Civil Rights Commission. 86 members of Congress have also filed a brief in support of Phillips. The baker says his religious beliefs on marriage prevented him from making the cake.
Every American should be free to choose which art they will create and which art they won't create, without fear of unjustly being punished by the government.
A government that tells you what you can't say is bad enough, but a government that tells you what you must say and what you must do and punishes you if you don't is frightening.
A sorcerer is a witch that casts a spell on you, all right? They have no faith. They have no roots. Therefore, they are completely open to satanic possession and obsession. Many people in this nation are drug addicts. Being drug addicts, they open a door directly to demonic possession. Drugs put you in an altered state of consciousness. Pharmakia, remember, sorceries, drugs, it opens it up, and you can become possessed with a devil, with a demon.
But heroin definitely has its hold on this area. Never seen nothing like it. You know, every time you turn on the news, robberies, murders, deaths, shooting. For these small towns, it's just overwhelming.
And so, 25 to 35 million Americans are drug addicts. You had the collision of two forces over here in Charlottesville, Virginia.
You will not replace us! You will not replace us! You will...
The foundations have been destroyed in this nation. Their faith in God has been robbed from them, and they have nothing in their soul. They're empty. They're void. A sorcerer is a witch that casts a spell on you. I have never noticed such a severe change in the behavior of the public. The city is falling apart. Now we have moved past the physical into the spiritual.
The world is on edge, and the threat of a nuclear attack is more real than it's been in decades. Earlier this week, North Korea showed off its new missile, which arced over 1,000 miles into space before splashing down.
Experiences like this, as well as others, make me feel if the end of this world or this age is near. The world more than ever values things that I don't. Gay marriage, paganism, feminism, racism, etc.
Of a highly anticipated Disney Channel original movie, Descendants 2. Here they are with a mashup of ways to be wicked.
What does the Bible teach about this surge in demonic activity? What specific resources are available to cope with this in my daily life? Are there specific verses that I should learn? The vast majority of the people in America have no faith. Their faith has been destroyed by Darwinianism in the public school system. How'd we get here? What is this preparing us for? What does the future hold? What's down the road? Well, it seems to be pretty clear to me that the only religion that's going to survive in this world is going to be the religion that is hammered out on their anvil and created by their theologians and fed to the public. Their religion is going to be a universal religion that's going to lay the groundwork for the coming of the man of sin. A sorcerer is a witch that casts a spell on you.
Harvey is causing catastrophic flooding in southern Texas.
Losing faith. A new wide-ranging national survey says a shrinking number of Americans are calling themselves Christians. A growing number describe themselves as atheists or agnostics.
As above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul.
I'm a Wiccan high priestess, and that means I'm a witch.
May we never hunger. May we never thirst. May we always have enough to share.
Come, West, come, so mote it be.
It's love and it's healing, and everybody should be a part of it.
You might not expect it.
I see pentacles everywhere.
But in the present-day Hudson Valley,
we're on top of a giant quartz crystal, so all the energy is like really radiated through the Hudson Valley.
You are never far away.
We have a huge community.
From an actual.
We're here.
Practicing.
We're real.
Witch.
As above, so below. We're the best kept secret.
A sorcerer is a witch that casts a spell on you.
Witchcraft may conjure up images of Halloween, but for many practitioners in the area, it's about connecting with nature. They call the eclipse a symbol of spiritual rebirth.
For me, the cycles of the earth is what makes everything kind of special or magical. I draw energy from the world around me, whether it's from nature, from crystals, from candles. Because of the very rapid cycle of the sun during the eclipse, where it's actually going down in strength and then back up in intensity, it gives you kind of the appearance of the sun's death and rebirth.
Lacer will hold an all-day celebration of the eclipse before and after the event at Myrtle Beach State Park. And other practicing witches will also hold a ritual during the eclipse to get rid of past burdens and invite in prosperity for the future.
During totality, or as close to totality as we will get, we will actually be burning those and letting go of them, kind of saying our farewells to what we're letting go of.
She says the goal is to give people practicing various forms of witchcraft and spiritualism a place to come together.
After complaints from several community members that only prayer or religious groups can give the invocation at Grand Junction City Council meetings, Council decided to allow a satanic invocation tonight.
We beseech all those present to shun primitive hatreds and superstition, bigotry, prejudice, and atavism. So say we all, in the name of reason, in the name of free inquiry, and in the name of rebellion against theocracy. Hail Satan.
You ready to take a picture? 3, 2, 1. Challenge over. Today we're going to be talking about the Blue Whale Challenge, also referred to as a silent house, a sea of whales, F-57, or F-57. Now, unlike other social media challenges, this challenge is a sinister one.
The challenge is established through social media. A curator directs the teen to carry out 50 tasks over 50 days. They get worse as the challenge continues. Teens are the targets, easily found in cell phone apps.
It appears to have started in Russia. These are images from users overseas. But news of the Blue Whale Challenge slowly spread online. It showed up in the United States in early May, all online and with serious consequences.
A lot of people are wondering what this challenge is.
Mel Patton is a mom, her daughter 12 years old. They live in Mississippi. Her daughter says she was invited to play the game by someone on Instagram, and she did. A complete stranger called an administrator or a curator sent a daily challenge.
After 50 days, the next step is to commit suicide.
One of the first steps? To cut F-57 into her skin. She had to show proof she'd completed the challenge to get the next. Patton only found out when she saw pictures and screen grabs of chats in her daughter's deleted photos album.
And I think the hardest thing as a parent is to hear your child tell you that they're better off. They felt better off being dead.
Facebook has enacted an emergency shutdown of 2 artificial intelligence programs. The social media giant leapt into action after it discovered the 2 programs were writing their own code. At first they thought it was simply gibberish, but they soon realised the programs had invented their own language and were actually talking to each other.
Bots were supposed to learn how to trade virtual objects with each other, but instead began repeating words in a mysterious and nonsensical pattern. Facebook researchers say that the pattern mirrors how humans develop speech patterns, but that hasn't stopped public fear of the AI's capabilities.
Tensions are rising between the U.S. and North Korea, with experts predicting North Korea could have deliverable nuclear weapons within the next few years. And tonight, many here in the Southland are taking that threat very seriously.
They say you can never be too prepared. Right now, these massive fallout shelters are under construction here in Montebello. Take a look from above. This one over here is 51 feet wide. It could comfortably hold a family of 10, about 500 square feet. This one over here, this is about 36 feet wide. This is 300 square feet, could comfortably hold a family of 6. Back to me, it's got a massive steel door that is blast proof. Come on in, there's room for a shower, several beds, also at the end a kitchen. There's enough room for a dining room table and also a television. All the comforts from home right here to help people prepare for the worst case scenario. So how big is this?
This is a 36-foot Atlas.
Some are taking precautions to another level. Brian Fowler is with Atlas Survivor Shelters in Montebello. He says he's never been busier selling underground bomb shelters to people all over the world.
Why have something like this? Why are these important, do you think?
for peace of mind.
The steel shelters are installed 20 feet below ground. They range in price from $19,000 to $165,000 and can be as luxurious as you like, complete with showers, couches, and big screen TVs.
You want to make sure that you're prepared today for what's going to happen tomorrow.
So who's buying them? People like this woman, who did not want to show her face since she wants to keep her shelter a secret.
You never know what's going to happen in the future, so we want one to be secure.
And though a doomsday attack may never end up happening, experts say it's better to prepare than regret. Back out here live, I gotta tell you guys, these things are pretty big. They're very comfortable, enough room to basically stretch out and not hit anything, but the owner says some people are even building them to use as...
North Korea fired its latest missile at daybreak. It flew nearly 1,700 miles, provocatively right over northern Japan, before breaking into 3 pieces and crashing into the Pacific. Defense systems in Japan went into high gear. Early warning systems advise people to find cover. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe holding an emergency 40-minute phone call with President Trump, calling the missile launch a grave threat. Mr. Trump earlier this month took a hard line on North Korea.
They will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before.
Afterwards, North Korea threatening to attack the U.S. territory of Guam, home to a key military base.
Less than a full day after the Islamic State militant group called for more terror attacks against Christians and launched a bizarre attack on the Pope.
A 9-minute-long video was posted on social media by an alleged Islamic State member. The Islamic State militant group has also called for a jihad, a religious warfare against Christians. The cover of the latest issue of the group's propaganda magazine called The Beak displayed an ISIS member ripping a cross off the roof of a church, bearing the title, "Break the Cross." The magazine cited the latest attacks in Orlando, France, Germany, and Bangladesh as prominent examples of a successful and necessary attack against Christians, labeling them as, quote, the cross worshippers and democratic pagans of the West.
American spy planes and special forces helping an army in trouble. It could be the Middle East, a city under siege, under ISIS rule, and under ferocious airstrikes. But this isn't Iraq or Syria, it's Marawi in the Philippines, and ISIS captured it 3 months ago.
Is this the end?